Hello again, everybody. Carter from the Chamber of Commerce, though I'm working remotely today, and I'm joined by the chair of our Agriculture Committee, Brian Dukart of Dakota Bank. And I'm thanking Alicia Erickson in Marketing Communications for keeping the doors open at the Chamber today. Alicia, we're joined by a guest. Why don't you go ahead and help introduce us?
Okay, well, today we have Troy Bockelmann of CattleFax with us. So, Troy, thanks for joining us. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Thanks, Alicia. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on today. And so, like she said, my name's Troy Bockelmann. I work at CattleFax, and we're based out of Colorado here, but I really grew up in Southwest Minnesota on a dairy and grain farm. And my family operation has been goes back to 1855. And as I started getting out of school, I was looking at what I should do, and I ended up going to Southwest Minnesota State University and getting a bachelor's in agricultural business. And then I came over to CSU and got a job, or I should say, got a master's degree in agricultural economics. I've been at CattleFax for the last 8 years, and if you're unaware what CattleFax is, we are a nonprofit, member-owned organization that really focuses on, the cattle markets and the grain markets, but we also cover some beef and pork and poultry and dairy and things like that. And our mission statement really says, to dissect data and help producers make better decisions. So I've been at CattleFax 8 years. I am the director of protein and grain market analysis, but don't let that fool you. I also am heavily involved in the cattle markets and actually was the analyst for the Northern Plains and Corn Belt region on the fed cattle side for a period of time.
Thanks, Troy. The topic of your presentation is Welcome to the Cattle Cycle. Can you give us a little more preview of that presentation?
Yeah, I can. The difference between these proteins is really kind of interesting, because if you think about hog or if you think about chicken production over time, yeah, there's some year-to-year variations, but they just tend to increase their production over time. In the cattle cycle, the reason we have more of a cycle, is that we have such a long period, up to almost 2 years between the time a calf is born and when it's harvested for beef. And we don't confine them near as much as you do as the hog on the poultry side. So Mother Nature and profitability play a huge role in the amount of beef cows or ultimately cattle we have here in the US. So we tend to cycle peaks and troughs of our beef cow inventories that tend to take about 10 years through that cycle. We're currently past the liquidation phase, and we're looking towards the next expansion. So as the beef cow numbers have moved lower, what's the market's going to look like over the course of the next 1, 2, 3, 4, or even 5 years as it relates to not only market prices, but beef production when we look to start to rebuild this beef cow herd? And how does that relate back down to your cow-calf producer, your stocker operator, your backgrounder, and even up into that fed market? One of the things that we need to look forward forward is, what's beef demand? How is that going to change? And even with those tighter supply numbers, what's the beef demand or the consumer willingness to pay for that product? And how does that cycle back down to the cow-calf producer?
It's a great topic, Troy. Our producers, we know they'll want to hear more about profitability. Let's go a little further with that. Look into that crystal ball. Give us one reason to be optimistic for our producers in the year 2024.
The good news is, up there in the northern region in North Dakota, you are probably going to tend to see a little higher values than, say, down into the Southern Plains. And it's not so much that we have that spread differential like we tend to have, but still have the drought going on in the Southern Plains. They've had a little harder liquidation on that beef cow side. So in the northern regions, there has been a little bit of expansion that's already started. Thinking about the calf market, or heading into the spring highs, right? You had a fall low, now you can go into your spring highs. On a U.S. average basis, getting a calf market up above that 315, possibly a 325, you might be talking about a 330 or 340 calf market going into your spring highs in the north. If you're talking about more on the fed cattle side, higher prices than last year, we would suggest something in the mid 180s for a fed market going into 2024, but a lot more of a seasonal type shape. Think about the last couple of years, right? You had the Tyson fire in 2019, then you have COVID in 2020, then you had the supply chain refilling in 2021, then you had a backup of cattle that carried from 2020 all the way to 2022 on the Fed side. We're now starting to get back into normal. We're starting to get back into more of a seasonal shape in these markets. So what does that look like? What do we expect those prices to be? We would expect on average to have higher prices in 2024 that ultimately carries probably into 2026.
Yeah, it's good to hear more about market stability, and we look forward to a deep dive into this topic. You're part of a great program for our 5th annual Chamber Ag Livestock Forum. That'll be Tuesday, February 20th on the campus of Dickinson State University at the Biesiot Activities Center from 5 to 8 p.m. $25 for adults, $20 for students, gets you a roast beef dinner and 2 great speakers. Troy, we're grateful you could join us today. We look forward to picking you up at the airport there on Tuesday, February 20th. Viewers, wherever you're finding this video or this audio, you can follow the link to register for the event. We look forward to seeing you at the 5th annual Dickinson Area Chamber Ag Livestock Forum. Have a great day.